Oh my god, sorry. I forgot there are 68 new lovely subscribers here. My bad. Just scared me a little. Hi! Oh my gosh, you guys look so cute. What's in my bag? Oh, just some queer books that I read this summer. Y'all like gay shit too? Do you want to talk about the books? Okay, I'll be right back. Oh my god, my cats are crazy. What do we think of this look? Do we like the butterfly clips or no? If you're new and happen to stumble upon this video, hi, I'm Blaine Christopher, and this is Blaine's Book Club. This week we're going to be discussing queer books I read this summer. So far this summer. It's not over yet, girls. Okay? It's not allowed to be. Summer is when I thrive. Before we get into it, I just want to say thank you so much for such a warm welcome into the BookTube community. There's like 68 of you as of now subscribed to this channel, and I received some really sweet comments on last week's introduction video. I was literally like, I was giggling and kicking my feet reading these comments. I was not expecting to have such cool people interact with my very first video. I'm like beyond thrilled to begin this journey with y'all. So thank you for making me feel special. Let's talk gay shit. So it was towards the end of June, and I was trying to pick out what I was going to read next. I think I had just finished I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones, and I was like, wait, bro. It's Pride Month. I think I've read like one queer book this month during Pride. And I was like, okay, I gotta lock in. I don't know if you knew this. Like, I don't know if it's obvious or anything, but I'm queer. Yeah, it was pretty important for me to pick up some queer books. First, let's talk about Self-Sabotage and Other Ways I've Spent My Time by Jeffrey Self. Self-Sabotage is a collection of essays. I was walking around the bookstore and I was in the LGBTQ plus section, and I saw this book and I saw, y'all see that? And I saw the little head on fire, and I was like, that is so me. And then I looked at the back of the book and saw Bowen Yang left a little review, and he said, as a fellow VGL, very good looking gay man, I love this book. And that was enough for me. Jeffrey's writing style is very personable. It's like you're sitting in a bar with him, like just hearing his crazy stories. I really appreciated his vulnerability while writing this book, because as you can tell with the title, like self-sabotage, he was definitely in the wrong in some of his wilder moments. Like, he definitely had psycho ex-boyfriend vibes for sure. But what's great about him is that he kind of clocks that it's wrong and doesn't defend himself every time, and kind of stands tall with the fact that he's a little messy. He's sharing his bad moments in a very humorous way, and a lot of his good moments as well. Hearing his like coming of age stories as a very flamboyant young gay was quite relatable, and maybe even a universal experience for little girly boys. Even dance moms had beef with him, and if you've never interacted with a Southern dance mother as a child even, consider yourself lucky. They're scary. I loved hearing about his experience living in NYC, because that's where I live. And I feel like he took advantage of the artistic scene and culture here in a way that I found really inspiring. He talks about his ASMR. He talks about his partnership, his collaborative partnership with Cole Escola, whom I adore and look up to. So that was very cool. He even talks about being jealous of Cole, which I thought was very relatable, especially for young artists. I feel like we all go through jealous phases, and if you haven't, you're lying. That definitely added to his evolution in this book. A lot of his escapades and adventures were because he needed to pay his rent that month, so he got creative. He opens about his life as a sex worker back then and shares some wild stories about that. I mean, he really goes into it in this book. He talks about almost sabotaging his marriage with his husband because he fell into this pit of like depression, insecurity, and self-doubt. My biggest critique of this book is that the self-deprecating humor became a little repetitive, and like the structure could have flowed better. Towards the end of the book, I was kind of like, I feel like we've already talked about this. But overall, I give the book 3 stars on Goodreads. It's very funny and witty. If there's an audiobook, which I'm sure there is, I feel like that would feel like just like kikiing with him in a bar. Next, I have The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. So I found this book because I Googled Emily Henry but gay, and then Casey McQuiston came up. I'm really searching for like a well done romantic rom-com that's queer and feels romantic and witty and smart. And this is not it. I will say it definitely fulfilled other needs. Okay, so The Pairing is about Kit and Theo and their exes slash childhood best friends. Theo is like this up-and-comer sommelier bartender, and Kit is a very talented baker. So they planned this European food tour, and before they could take the tour, they broke up in the airport. So then years go by, they've been non-contact, no contact, and then they both coincidentally decide, hey, I'm actually gonna go on that food tour I didn't go on years ago. And guess what happens? They both end up on the same food tour, bitch. They spend this entire trip hanging out and rekindling their friendship, and they both very obviously still have feelings for each other. And it gets to a point where you're kind of like, can y'all just get back together? Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing reading this book? I literally, you see this yellow sticky note? Like, that's what page 109 is when I was like, okay, just get back together. Like, that is so soon into the book. Like, there weren't any justifiable stakes, to be honest. So a lot of the book was very slow for me because I was just kind of like, just do it already. But they create this like bet to see who can sleep with more people because these are the horniest bitches I have ever met in my entire life. It's a very fun and sexy read though. Like, they are literally in a romanticized version of Europe where everyone is bisexual, hot, and wants to fuck them. Hello. One thing that really clicked for me that I liked is that Theo, who is a non-binary character, was never like, hi, I'm Theo, and I use they, them pronoun, and I'm non-binary. Which in real life, that's great because you want people to use your pronouns, but sometimes in books and even movies and TV shows, I feel like people are so quick to almost like educate you rather than be real with it. And I feel like McQuiston does a great job because the first half is in Theo's POV, and so we get a lot of hints towards their gender identity, and then the second half is Kit's POV. Once Theo revealed their gender identity to Kit, he immediately started using their pronouns, and they even evolved their dirty talk past gendered expressions. Instead of good boy or girl, it was good bottom, which I thought was so hot. Like, I'm gonna admit it, but I'm gonna hide behind this book while I admit it, it was hot. I gave this book 3 stars on Goodreads, but honestly, I kind of feel like I want to change it to like, did y'all see that? Can you guys get along? You guys love each other, you're brothers. Now I'm gonna say it's more of a 2.5, honestly. So yeah, that was The Pairing. Next up, we have Swimming in the Dark by Thomas Jodorowsky. Swimming in the Dark takes place in the 1980s in Poland, where being out and gay is really not an option. It takes place during the decline of communism in Poland, and more protests with the general public are taking place, which creates a lot of the tension and conflict between our two main characters, Ludwig and Janusz. The book is in the POV of Ludwig as he's writing a letter to Janusz. They met at this farming camp class credit excursion. They were living on a farm, working on it to get credit for school. Janusz definitely seems more like the confident, bubbly, popular type. Ludwig is quite reserved and more of an observer. At the camp, Ludwig is reading a bootleg copy of Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. So it's like Giovanni's Room inside a book with a different cover. The book is banned because it's gay and it's 1980s Poland. Janusz asks Ludwig if he can borrow the book that he's reading, and this book is used as like a low-key signal to each other, being like, hey, I'm gay, you gay? And so at the end of the farming camp excursion college credit thing, Janusz is like, do you want to go on this camping trip with me? And Ludwig is like, yeah. And so they go on this camping trip and they fall in love, and Jodorowsky is so descriptive in his writing. The imagery in my mind, it was so cinematic, so beautiful. When they come back to normal life, there's a shift that happens. Surprisingly, the bubbly one, Janusz, is a lot more conservative and wants to be normal and fit into society's standards, or not even fit in society's standards, correction, hide in society's standards. And Ludwig is kind of the opposite. There's this moment where he, through his anger, just chooses to join in on one of the protests and ends up quite literally hiding in the closet from police. And then he comes out of the closet literally when the police are gone, and it's like there's this change within him. He wants to fight against this life he no longer wants to live, and this creates conflict with Janusz. And that's all I'm gonna say about all of this. It's a wonderful book. Please read it. I gave it 5 stars. The next book is another 5-star read. Even I forgot I have these fucking butterfly clips in my hair. I just looked in the viewfinder. I'm fucking dead. The next book we have is another 5-star called Evenings and Weekends by Oisin McKenna. Or is it Oisin? I looked it up earlier and I've already forgotten.
Oisin.
Is that what I said? So Evenings and Weekends is my favorite book out of all of these. It takes place in London, which is a place I love. This book made me miss London so much. I studied abroad there, but it takes place in London and also in a neighboring small town where a lot of the main characters, mostly all of them, are from. It's in third person. There are many different characters and their storylines overlap and intersect. My favorite storyline intersection is Phil and his mother, Rosaline. They're so incredibly parallel and similar, yet rarely say what they're actually thinking. So it's like they're so close to connecting and then they just miss each other. But there's still that love there, and Rosaline has cancer. She doesn't have very many years left to live, so her character's battle is like a will or won't she situation on if she's gonna live her life fully or kind of still, I guess, live in fear is what I want to say. Maybe instead of live in fear, break out of her own mind and just live fuller. I've never had a part of me so, sorry, ew. Crying ill. I've never had a part of me so perfectly aligned with a character like Phil. The way he describes his relationship with sex and insecurity and trauma is just, I think, very relatable to a lot of young gay people. You know, I don't know how it is today, but sex education, when I went through it, absolutely did not talk about queer sex. Excuse me. It was never spoken about, not even with my family. You seek to explore your desires in secrecy and you do really risky things, and it's just not safe. And it puts people in really bad situations, and it's just not how sex and love should be for young people. It shouldn't be a secret. Anyway, off that tangent, that's just one of the many storylines and themes in this book. There's Maggie, Phil's best friend. She's pregnant and she is grappling with leaving this cool artistic life in London to live this quiet mom life back in their small town they're from. Moving back to raise this baby with her boyfriend named Ed, and Ed goes through his own character journey with his own identity. So many characters, and they all intersect in really great ways. With it being in third person, having the privilege to be able to see behind people's actions and peer into their thoughts, it goes to show you that we're all just trying our best, you know? These characters were all just trying their best. And the actions might not look like it, but when you can hear their train of thought, like you know they're trying, and I really love that. I give this book 5 stars. All right, last book on today's list is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. This is upside down. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is a letter written by our narrator, Little Dog, and he's writing a letter to his mother, who is a Vietnamese immigrant named Rose, and she can't read English, and she can't really speak English either, so Little Dog goes all in on this letter, okay? He reveals a lot. He goes all in. This book explores many themes and dives into many different writing structures, style, vibes. There's themes like the opioid issue in America, drug addiction, American cruelty, shocking animal cruelty in this, human cruelty, immigration, immigrant parents, empathy for your parents, abusive parents, queerness, love, refuge and family, danger in family, violence, but also tenderness. Ocean Vuong does a really great job of exploring both sides of the spectrum of empathy and complete anger. Little Dog forms a bond / sexual relationship / love relationship with this teenage boy. Little Dog is also a teenager. They're both teenage boys. Oh God. He develops a relationship with Trevor. Trevor is being raised by an alcoholic deadbeat dad. Their family is very much like American men, toxic masculinity, fuck them libs vibes. And this toxic masculinity vibes, Trevor has, but he exceeds that expectation of abuse you would have from someone with those vibes. And I was watching an interview with Ocean Vuong and the Queen Dua Lipa girl. Ocean talks about how Trevor doesn't really have any role models. He doesn't have anyone to teach him kindness or love, but he has this natural queer power within him that teaches him kindness. It's just there. The quote from the interview, Ocean says, "I wanted to ask the question, what happens if queerness is a force rather than a name or a social category or an identity marker? It's just a force of goodness. God forbid it's a force of goodness in somebody." The natural queerness in him told him, I can be loving, even though everything around me tells me that I should destroy everything I love. And I mean, woof, am I right? Like, I think that's incredible. So moving. And this moment in the interview moved me more than what I was experiencing while reading the book, because I don't think I was fully grasping all these ideas, right? This book took me on a roller coaster in my many attempts of comprehending what I was reading. Just when I figured out the structure and how to best dissect Vuong's words so I could, get lost in the book, he would hit me with a curveball, and my new method became like useless because now there was this new writing style and structure. And this was challenging. And, the challenge was fun at times. I feel like I'm very naturally a curious person. It gets to a point where I really just want to be absorbed in the book and not have to keep rereading paragraphs. Sometimes it had me feeling that I was being left out on something that everybody else understands. And that could just be my own insecurities, maybe. But anyway, yes, there were many scenes that deeply moved me, but I definitely was distracted by really trying to understand what was going on sometimes. The book is less plot driven and more little dog writing about thoughts and concepts and poetry. And if you love poetry and dissecting flowery words about honestly like really gritty things, this book is definitely for you. I give this book controversially 3.5 stars, not because I don't think it's a great book and obviously very well done, but because of my own personal reading experience. Like, yes, I do love analyzing. I annotated the fuck out of this book, but sometimes you really just want to get lost in it. But I definitely understand why this book is so loved. Okay. Wow. Those are the queer books that I've read this summer so far. I have a few on my bookshelf, my TBR, I'm gonna read soon. Let me grab them. Okay, actually, I have a lot. So I think I'm just gonna bring a couple that I'm going to be reading like next. If you want to see my entire collection so far on the shelf, in my intro video, I show all my books. But next up, I want to read Queer by William S. Burroughs. I want to do a video comparing the movie to the book. And then also I have Enigma Variations by Andre Ackerman, the author of Call Me By Your Name. I'm not going to look up how to pronounce that because my camera is dying. I see the little thing in the corner. Thank you so much for watching this video. I can't wait to talk about more books with you in the future. Next week, I'm doing a video all about Emily Henry. So I will see you then. Bye, guys. Have fun being gay and pretty.